Hi there. It's Tom and Tom. We skipped a few podcasts, but we're back at it. Tom back in front of his green screen, me in front of my real background that Tom thinks is fake, but it's not.
It looks fake.
It's like, Tom, why would you use that background? It's obviously fake. No, it isn't. Here, I'll prove it. See this?
Ah, AI can do that now.
Yeah, right. It's not worth the effort, Tom, even to just prompt that into existence. Probably have to ask it 5 times to get it right. What do you want to talk about today?
Want to talk about an experience that one of the companies maybe more of an experiment rather than one of the companies I worked at ran. One of the companies I founded, Menlo Innovations, ran, and what I think it says about um maybe the size you can grow a small group or a small, partially bureaucratic organization where you can get really great insights and outcomes from the size of the team. And many people will have heard of Dunbar's number, which was a number where that was like Dunbar had done research, and it was sort of like the number of people you can actually have a relationship with and easily remember their names. And there's around 150 people. That's sort of
Yeah,
where humans naturally related
right.
to groups and organizations.
It's
And a
more
lot of
than
us
it's
in the
more than just remembering their names though. It's building trusting relationships,
trusting
which is
relationships,
something
yeah.
that we talk about a lot.
So the agile community would talk about that a lot. I think we'll see um, other communities would talk about it. You even see it often in structures of like civic organizations and especially in the United States, sort of private church groups. There's a reason that most small independent churches grow to about 100 people and stop because it's a really natural size
Except mega
for a
churches.
community. Yeah.
But
And so we've spotted the number everywhere. And Menlo did an interesting exercise that gave me a different name for this number, this Dunbar's number, and and put the number more directly in people's heads. I call it mommy's number. And the experiment came out. It was actually after I'd left Menlo, so I got the story from Rich. But one of our employees was about to give birth and have a baby, and she really wanted to keep working in Menlo paired programming and being a software engineer and doing the work. And Rich describes the story because even he was thinking he was crazy as he said it out loud. But he's like, "Well, come back to work. I don't want to leave the baby. I want to have the baby." And he's like, "Bring the baby."
right.
And he's like, and she was like, what will we do if the baby cries?" And he's like, "Pick up the baby."
Right. What would you do if your baby started crying?
He's a father of three girls. He knew that babies, especially, mainly sleep.
Right.
If you get a colicky baby, that's a different story. But they never had that problem. And so they said and this was the Menlo philosophy. He's like, let's run the experiment. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But hey, we tried, and you get to do two of the things that you really want to do. You want to keep programming, and you want to be with the baby. By the way, this was long before remote work. This was like 25 years ago, 20 years ago. They ran this experiment, and so they brought in a baby pen, and Menlo worked in close quarters and teams, and the baby would sit there. And really, the thing that began to happen was everyone fought over who got to pick up the baby when the baby cried.
Right. Just another reason why they allowed dogs at Menlo.
Yeah. and the idea was the insight was everyone. Gee, it's as if human society evolved with babies in the room. I'm always like, I'm a little sarcastic when I'm like, gee, isn't it a surprise this worked? Everyone's behavior is better. Even clients' behavior was better. Like, if they were angry at Menlo for something, there's a baby in the room. They're not going to yell.
That's funny because I had a very similar experience with my company. I had a really good salesperson, and she came to me one day and said that she was pregnant, and I said congratulations, and I said we're going to be sad to lose you when you become a mother, but you're welcome to stay here as long as you'd like, and she stayed her whole term.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm told by her husband that she was on the phone with clients in labor and delivery.
I didn't labor.
So she came back after the baby and, had the baby and said she wanted to continue working. She didn't even take any leave. I think she took a couple weeks, but, she came back after 2 weeks and she said she wanted to work. I said, fine, bring the baby. That's fine with me. And she did exactly in the scenario you're describing, and people wanted to take turn. It was just the same thing, right? But I told her, I said, you will not be able to keep doing this. You will eventually feel the pull of motherhood, and you'll want to go home and take care of your baby. And I'm not telling you to do that. You'll make that decision for yourself. And she said, no, I'm staying. I love my job. I don't want to go. I'm like, okay. And then after about a month or so, she came into my office and said, I can't do this.
Yeah.
I said, I witnessed a woman go through motherhood, go through the experience of transitioning to motherhood myself. So I knew you weren't going to be able to do it.
I think most of the Menlo moms, they've had about, I don't know, the last time I heard Rich tell the story, they had about a dozen or so over the years, now 20 years.
Yeah.
Most did it for a whole year. And then in a sense, the baby aged out of the program because they begin to run around.
Yeah, right.
You got to create a daycare environment if you got big enough. But the moms often did it. I would, of course, encourage just taking them 2 months off, never coming immediately back. But that's not the point of the story. The real point of the story was as Menlo grew bigger. What happened naturally is like the mom was able to walk away and do other things because the team, in a sense, also looked after the baby. And a conversation came up once with one of the moms who left to go work in a bigger company about would you be comfortable taking your baby into the bigger company? And her take was, there's too many people there. And I realized that there was some other number. This is mommy's number in my head. Like the thing that's most important to you, that you most, that it's almost the most important trust one could ever imagine, if not looking after your baby. There's some number in mommy's head where I know enough people and everyone knows each other and the baby's looked after. And at a certain point, that number gets blown out of the water. And you can put the baby into a small childcare. But again, what you've done is you've collapsed that number down to a meaningful number. You took it out of the general population and took it down to a meaningful number. And so this idea of mommy's number, it's like, where does trust really end?
Yeah. because
right? And Menlo
150 is
grew
the
as big as
limit.
75 people, and mommy's number still held.
Yeah,
But I think it falls apart before Dunbar's number.
I agree. I mean, well, that number is intended to be a limit,
Yeah.
not comfortable, a limit. So 75, which is half of that limit, should be comfortable for most people.
Yeah. And my thinking is, just as we're talking about intentional culture in a separate subject that I want to bring up in a future conversation, is your and my relative discomfort with the word bureaucracy at almost any level.
Yeah, we're not getting
Is
into that now, Tom.
no, it's a different conversation, but I'm struck that this number, mommy's number in particular, is that number where that true trust ends, and where if your organization grows, you want to think about how you scale it very differently
Yeah.
than just adding more people and adding more management and adding more layers.
Well, and it's becoming increasingly unnecessary with the way people are using AI now to, not necessarily scale with people when you have a bunch of redundant activities that, where in the past, if you had 50,000 vendors to pay every month, you would need enough people to process those transactions to open the mail and enter the transaction into the computer. And somewhere along the way, those transactions, a lot of them became digital anyway, but they often came in digital forms like emails or faxes that were, still digital, but digital images and things that were still needed some attention, even though they could be at least somewhat automated. But the oversight, the automation that you would put behind those inputs now can be done with an AI. And so just scaling that one thing, entering accounts payable transactions doesn't need more people. It just needs more processing power.
I think overall, like, we do see people building giant companies today and doing truly great things. And we'd love to work with startups who think they're going to scale from 15 to 50 to 150 to 500. These numbers, mommy's number, Dunbar's number, are just things we want to be cognizant of as we're thinking about what does it mean to scale culture.
Yeah.
And at a certain point, you build a daycare that runs as a daycare where everyone affiliated with that daycare has a new mommy's number with the daycare group, and it's no longer anyone in the room picks up and takes care of the baby. And I think that degree of trust is something to be really cognizant of. It's just so obvious with the baby, but I think it applies to everything at the office, and we don't pay attention to it at all.
It's a great point. It's a great point. Like it's funny how a situation like that brings into sharp relief how important trust is. Like we can undermine it when we're just going to the office and doing stuff. But as soon as you bring a baby into the environment, all of a sudden you've elevated trust to something that with increased awareness, as if now it's important. It was important before. It just wasn't as visible how important it was.
We're just now are hyper aware of the value of trust that you talk about, and that you made one of the two core values inside of intentional culture.
Yeah.
And so I can't think of anything that's better than that, really. It's the center of the target for trust. And I think we ignore that. I think we ignore mommy's number to our peril as we scale organizations.
Yeah. I like it. I like it a lot.
That was my thought for today. I'm supporting your fundamental thesis that's in our book.
Indeed. So that begs the question to our listener here. Do you have a baby going to the office? Would you trust your team if you did? Drop us a comment. We'd love to hear your thoughts on that. If you enjoyed this video, give us a like. And as we often say here, do not forget to click that subscribe button right down there. That is the currency of YouTube. That is how we live. So we would love you to do that. And in the meantime, if you would like help creating teams where a baby would be welcome, reach out to us at beintentional.biz. We would love to work with you. And until next time, this is Tom.
And Tom.
We'll talk to you soon.
Bye.